right, let's go, I guess.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So we are invited here to do a talk about ballroom in Copenhagen, and we have, including me, four people from the Danish ballroom scene. Over here we have,
Nina Mercury.
and
Bax 007.
Mother Yoni Mercury.
that's right, and I am Rebekka Bodega. Okay, House of Bodega. So we want to talk a little bit about kind of what ballroom is in general, where it's from, how it started. Then we want to talk about how the scene came to Denmark and Copenhagen. And then we want to talk a little bit about, I guess, our personal stories in ballroom, why we're here, what we do, right? That sounds good to y'all?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm going to try to moderate. Feel free to ask questions to each other as well, right? And follow up. So, first of all, we want to talk about, ballroom. What is ballroom? And I guess let's go back to kind of how it started. Anyone want to kind of get the ball rolling in terms of where does ballroom come from? Mother.
I can try. So ballroom originated in the U.S. in Harlem and New York, but you can see the threads starting to spin already, like as far back as the beginning of the 1900th century. So basically, there were already this pageant culture going on amongst the gay community. It was like a majority white gay community that had these beauty drag pageants. So the colored girls there, in short, they were not respected or represented, not able to show their color as they wished, as we can see in the iconic documentary The Queen from 68, 69. Yes.
Right. So then what happened?
I always want to look at you because it was Crystal LaBeija, and you
Yeah.
used to be LaBeija.
Yeah, so I used to be in House of La Beija, which was the first ballroom house. We have more people, okay?
Me too, actually. I also used to be in the house of
That's
iconic house of
right.
Rebekka.
Okay. So, so basically, Crystal left the pageant scene to create her own. And this was kind of the beginning of the ballroom scene forming. Yeah. And that's also where the house culture comes from. We're going to get a little back to that in a little bit, right? So then kind of what was the first, I guess, activities happening at a ball? Maybe you go? Yeah.
Yeah, so like when ballroom started, like when they had the categories, it was mainly like looks, so it was like fashion categories, or it was realness. Eventually became a thing because it's led by black trans women, so realness was a part of it because there was a lot of pride in passing as real in the outside world. And so you would be judged on like binary things, and it was femme queens in the beginning, and then eventually it's encompassed a lot more different types of groups in realness.
Let's do a little ballroom dictionary here. So
Yeah.
when you say passing, what
Yeah,
does it mean?
I mean, when passing is that you pass like if you're a femme queen, meaning a trans woman, then you pass as a cis woman. So it would be they will look at like how your voice sounds, like soft skin, nails, like the outfit as well, your hair, like they will look at all these things and see, okay, yeah, you pass, you're real, like you could look like this woman. So
Yeah.
and
Then you said the next thing, but you also said femme queen.
yeah,
Can
so
you
that's
explain?
a trans woman, yeah, and then there's like butch queen, that's a gay man. There's trans band. There's Those are like some of the terminologies we use instead of just trans man, trans woman, or gay man. You use other terminologies, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So certainly, the first categories were more related to how you look, how you present yourself, and then at a certain time, new people started joining the scene. It was specifically for the trans women, for the femme queens in the beginning. Then you started having the butch queen coming in, and then is also where voguing would start slowly forming. So if you can take us maybe a little bit back to what is voguing, where it came from, and what it is today.
Yes, so voguing came from, well, originally there was the old way, and from old way, the femme queens kind of had a bit of a twist to it, and that's why they made their own lane, and I was like voguing like a femme queen, and it was just a bit different from how the butch queens would vogue. Yeah, it started out for the femme queens, and then butch queen realness for a lot of butch queens. Ballroom was there, and I think it was around 2000s where a lot of butch queens like slowly kind of left the scene and started pursuing their like everyday life, their jobs, families, etc. And that's how there were suddenly a new space available for other kinds of queer people, such as trans men. Yes, and then there is performance, Vogue Femme, we have Old Way, we have New Way. Those are the three performances that you can do. And then there's so many categories. There's runway, there's realness, and it's like it's the organizer of a ball who chooses what categories, and often they choose what their community has a need of.
Okay, so today Ballroom is getting more and more attention, right? So maybe people have seen it around or something, but maybe can you talk a little bit about kind of how it's becoming popular now, a little bit, both in the US, but also around? You have TV shows, you have different things. Maybe you can take this one?
I can try.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel this is what happens almost in every bigger societies. You have like the mainstream everyday culture for like the normative sphere, and then you have like the underground cultures. You have like the people who have to create their own spaces in order to just be here, be alive, and be able to enjoy life and each other. And somehow these mainstream waves, they always pick up on what's going on in like the underground cultures. And I feel like that this has happened with Ballroom several times. Like a lot of people will know the Madonna voguing, that whole thing that happened. And I feel like there's a lot of this happening today as well, and these recent years that people pick up on it. I feel like the whole drag scene also had like a big rise up and presence in a lot of mainstream culture. You have the RuPaul Drag Race, you have all of these like very suddenly available experiences of queer cultures, and that is also being picked up by several like mainstream medias, very big artists who want to both highlight but obviously also ride that wave as well, I think you could say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's like, you know, like the first brush from mainstream was, you know, Madonna Vogue, and then it was kind of relegated a little bit to like novelty status as like a novelty dance, like Macarena, the Gangnam Style, the Superman, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was like kind of relegated to that, and then it went underground, and then it had these like fluctuation periods of like coming up and down again, and you know, and also you started seeing the 2000s, start seeing like famous people like attending balls again. I've seen footage of like Khalees at a ball, and you also see people who would become famous who walked balls, like Michael K. Williams from The Wire. Even though she's fallen off, Ruby Rose also did Ballroom for a bit. She was a con. And yeah, but like famous people have been judging balls from like way back in the day, and so but then you see like also like dance shows, and you actually had like Legendary, Pose, and you're seeing in their music videos, like they would hire ballroom dancers to come and do stuff in videos as well, and they would be choreography on tours, or they will join the tours. And you've seen like Honey at Beyonce's tours, so it's always like kind of like permeated in and out like of it, depending on the attention and the demand.
Right.
I also feel like because of social media and the phone itself, Ballroom has gotten like a bigger audience suddenly because it goes so fast, it travels so fast, and before I feel like it was way more gatekept compared to today. I think I remember like I tried to I think I watched Pose of like the first thing that I had a relation to was watching Pose, and that was during Corona or COVID, and I was trying to like search on Facebook or on Google like Danish ballroom scene, and I couldn't really find anything there. Like there was some small things here and there, but not something up to date. So I was really like, let me start my own thing here. And then I think it's Pride 2021, my first Pride. Took a dance class and I was done, and I went out to the metro, and then I see this like huge ball happening on the like Rådhuspladsen. And I run over there because I'm like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for, and my first Pride, and like it's just a lot of nice stuff, right? And I remember I go there, and there's this one person who I'm asking like, can I walk? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I walk, and it's sex siren. Yes, a category that's very difficult to be in because there's a lot on stake, and there's so many things you have to know before walking that category. And I walked straight in there. I just wanted it that much, you know. I got chopped from the back, and they started explaining everything about ballroom, and but that was my like way in. And I think a year later, the one who chopped me eventually asked me into her house. So that was a very full circle moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially social media, I think, has given like ballroom such a big view. And also it came to the Olympics. Like I went from something completely underground to suddenly being on national TV everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
went from one thing to another.
Definitely. I guess let's kind of, before we move on to talk about how it came to be in Denmark, let's explain maybe the house structure of ballroom. If you want to go first.
Yeah. So a house, like it originated as a way of creating families, most chosen families for a lot of the people in ballroom scenes, because most of them were being ostracized from their families. They were thrown out of their houses, and especially if they were very young, they would sometimes have to resort to very dangerous methods of surviving, which could be selling drugs, it could be doing survival sex work, it could be, and that could be very dangerous because you didn't know it was very unpredictable, and also sometimes they would end up maybe also getting into drugs themselves. So there will usually be housed like a mother and father, and they would take in the young ones, and they would help them with like getting off the street, or like get them on the like the right path, or more like a better path for them, and then they would like train them in the category, and and then they would lead, and you would have different chapters, and that started spreading around, and more houses came to be, and usually they were named after like fashion houses, or they would have like, you know, fabulous names like Prodigy or something like that. It would be like or there would be called fashion houses like Gorgeous Gucci, or Valentino has also been used, and Dolce & Gabbana, and Saint Laurent as well. Yeah, so there's been a lot of different variation. Yeah, and then you also have like, you have prince and princesses, which are like kind of people who are like the face outwards, the ambassadors kind of. You also have godfather and godmother, and you have overall fathers and overall mothers. They're the ones who are like, if you have like, you know, a big house in the country, the overall mother would be the one who would be in charge of the whole instead of just one part of it. So this is like the whole like hierarchy and structure and such. Yeah, and then there's also the legend statements and stars and pioneers, which is where, you know, it's like you start as a star. Yeah, you start as a star, and then eventually it's statement, and then eventually you will become legendary in your category if you know you win and you travel and you inspire and you influence, and then eventually, like, I mean, you don't really see them nowadays, but it used to be pioneers, a lot of pioneers and something. There's still some left, but it's not really something you're deemed anymore because most has been pioneered, so it's not really something that's been done anymore. But like, if you're the one who starts your scene, if you're one of the ones who helped start the scene, you can be like called a trailblazer because you're blazing the way, paving the way forward for it to like develop in your scene. So,
yeah. I mean, that was a great and very comprehensive answer, so that's perfect. So maybe we can just talk about our houses, I guess. So we have House of Mercury represented here, House of Bodega, and then we have 007. Maybe 007, you could explain what that means.
So 007, we signed it like this, yeah, 2 O's. And whenever somebody is walking at a ball, we are chanting for them. So every house has their own chant. You can hear the Mercury's chant in a bit, but the double O's chant is double O, double O, double O, double O. And
But is it a house?
yeah, I will get into it now. A double O is basically somebody who is their own agent. So they're not under a house, they're not under a team, but they're representing for themselves. And you always start out as a double O unless you come out in a house. Yeah, so like double O's, we have so many double O's across the world. I've been a double O for some time. I've also been in a house, so you can jump in and out. Jump is probably a bad word to say, but you know.
Yeah. Yes. And then we have House of Mercury.
We have the House of Mercury, which is the first Danish house. It's a Kiki house. So should we?
Yeah, we can explain
Yeah,
this a
so
little.
there is the original ballroom scene, which is now called the major scene. And we quickly brushed over the whole history of that. And then the Kiki scene began in...
Around 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Before.
I don't know if there's like a founding date.
Yeah, not
I don't.
really.
When was the first Kiki ball?
I mean, it is around 2010, and it kind of started as outreach for youth LGBTQ to teach about sexual health awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it sort of became its own scene.
Yes, exactly. So now we do operate with two parallel scenes within ballroom, almost as two different leagues. So you can have a major house and you can have a Kiki house. You can have like one of each. So whenever there's a ball, it will be specified: is this a major ball for the major houses, or is it a Kiki ball for the Kiki houses? So Kiki House of Mercury was founded by Mercury, formerly Beck Ninja, who, I mean, he never got deemed, though he should have been, but I feel like he's one of the trailblazers of Copenhagen.
Definitely.
And he founded the house. We previously went under the name McQueen, and then we changed it. And then 2 years ago, I became the mother. Yes. Yeah,
That's right.
that's right. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, right? And then I represent House of Bodega, which is a US based house, specifically from Atlanta. And we have a big Scandinavian chapter, so I think we're about 10 people in Denmark, Sweden, Norway. And yeah, we have a lot of members around around Europe, actually. And each country usually says the chapter of that same house, but we all belong to the same family that, that started it in Atlanta, for me specifically. And that's the case for most houses in the US. They go international, or they are probably all of them international at this point. I think, right? Well, maybe not, but usually they're all kind of international at this point. So you all belong to a family when you're in an international house, which is great. For me, for instance, I just came back from Asia. I was at a ball in Taiwan, and I meet my house chapter from the Philippines, and immediately I'm with family, which is great. I've never met them before, but we belong to the same family, so immediately we just get along and have a great time. So that's for me the best part of being part of an international house. Yeah. The other side of it is that I'm the only one in Denmark, so, and then I don't have my chapter here. But anyway, that's besides the point. Okay. Another point?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit. Like the Kiki scene is kind of supposed to be like for the youngins, where we train and practice, where it's less serious, where it's more about having fun. It's a Kiki, and then eventually you graduate into the major scene, where there's more at stake. It's for there's more at stake. That's how I would describe those two.
Yeah.
Can I quickly add on, and then you'll get it? Because I would say, yeah, it's more fun, especially concerning maybe the categories. When you walk a ball in the Kiki scene, you are easily able to like try out a category to do something where, yeah, maybe there is less at stake. But I would say it's also, as you mentioned, like from the origin of the Kiki scene. And I think that's something that people are picking up on more now in Denmark and Scandinavia, that the Kiki scene is also this like family. Like you can have maybe international major houses that originated in the US that are very like big. You go to all the big balls, and then you maybe have a Kiki scene that is more For some, maybe more local. It's more like you hang out. You like have, for some, maybe closer relations to a kiki house.
And I will also add that like it has more like, as you say, it comes from the youth, so it has more like grassroots based origin, and that's also why you see like a lot of, especially in the US, a lot of the kiki balls will be have attached to like fundraising for, it could be for femme queens for surgery or for housing. It could be for improved sexual health and the testing opportunities and PrEP. We had a kiki ball here once by Maji Claire, where the proceeds from the ball went to families who were rejected asylum seekers. So it has like these like political grassroots kind of origins and causes a lot of support attached to the kiki balls as well. So that's also the major difference between that and the mainstream scene.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's talk about the Danish ballroom scene. Yeah? I guess I can kind of start it off a little bit. As we mentioned, Mercury was sort of the trailblazer of the scene. This is back in 2016-ish. So around 10 years ago, he had been living in Paris, where there's a big scene. The biggest scene in Europe now or at all times in Europe, has always been in Paris. And he was living in Paris at the time that the scene kind of started, around the beginning of 2010, 13, something like that. And when he came back to Denmark, there was like a handful of us, me included, that were very interested in voguing, but none of us really knew anything about it.
He'd been living in New York as well at that time.
Did he?
Oh, he went back.
Oh yeah, he had been living in New York. That's right. So he knew something about it, and he kind of was training some of us. And then somehow we got turned into this like dance crew, and we would be the first people to kind of do any type of voguing in Denmark. We actually started at Pride. That was our first gig, 2016, I think that was. And then it slowly started to become sessions, open session. People could come and train with us. That's how we met, I guess. Essentially, all of us. Yeah. It used to be back in Danskapellet, and then from there, slowly, more and more people got interested. And I don't think we had our first function until 2018, I believe it was.
2017?
It was around there. It was me who was hosting it, so I should know.
Yeah.
But I don't. 2017, 2018.
No.
Anyway. And it was great. It was a great night. But if you look back, it was not very successful. Like, we didn't have an actual ballroom DJ. We didn't have an MC, like the person on the mic. We didn't really have a panel. Like, we tried to actually emulate the US, where you have a celebrity on the panel. So we had Lina Raffen from Inferno, iconic. We had her on the panel. But anyway, the whole thing was just so, yeah, anyway, I don't want to see videos from there at this point now. Like that, oof. But
it is cute though, looking back.
Yeah.
Because we can see growth.
Yeah,
I think.
that's very much the case. But yeah, so anyway, so that was kind of our first function, and I feel like from there it just started, it kind of exploded in Denmark. And also because it was kind of happening at the same time around Scandinavia. Sweden was a bit ahead of us. Norway was kind of coming up at the same time, so there kind of became this whole Scandinavian scene. Yeah, so I think that's how I'm going to introduce it, and then I would love to hear kind of you guys' road into ballroom, how it was. Maybe you start.
Yes. I think the first time I had known about like drag queens, watching RuPaul's Drag Race as a kid, and sort of like been hearing some of all these references, but not like fully understanding what is it. And then I was in Paris in 2013. No?
With Flo?
Yes.
I think 14, because I was 13. I was the year before.
14 then. Thank you. Yes, this dance school that has a variety of styles. Let's not get into that. But they had European Parisian pioneer Lysandra there to teach classes, and yeah, that was an amazing introduction to ballroom. Like, you could just immediately feel like this is something very different, and that's also why I laughed a bit about like the thing, but different styles, because I feel like it's just a misunderstanding to see voguing or ballroom as like a dance style, because it's just not. Period. Like, it's a culture, it's a way of life, it's a protest. It's yeah. But saying that, a lot of people have been introduced because it is also a performing art. They have been introduced through like dance contexts, and I was as well. And fully did not understand a lot. I just knew it was amazing, and yeah, nothing that I've ever seen before. Going forward to 2017, I think I saw you guys at Pride at the 16 show, and then I started attending the sessions in 2017, I think, and just immediately felt like this is what I've been looking for and longing for all my life. I think I was never really good a dancer when I was in Paris. I enjoyed my time, but like it felt like coming home, and it was just so amazing to learn so much. It was a very steep learning curve, I feel like, because everything was also happening around us, like the growing of the Scandinavian scenes, and also this like trajectory of ballroom in the mainstream media was also like slowly picking up, maybe a couple of years later already. And yeah, then it just stuck. I've been in ballroom ever since, walking here, walking in Paris, walking in the other Scandinavian countries. Started hosting sessions also in 2020, I think, or right after Corona. Briefly joined House of Ninja, joined House of Mercury, McQueen back then. Yeah, getting to know so many amazing people here and internationally, like you.
No, that was sweet. That was very nice. I mean, I already have said a bit, but I can continue from there. I think after that first Pride where I saw the huge ball, around 6-7 months ish went by, and then I got to my first session, and I think like during that time I was like ballroom usually the people who are in ballroom are not people who have everything in life, you know. There's a lot of marginalized people, a lot of intersections that meets, especially in ballroom, and for me it was a way of getting back in touch with like life, because I was going through a bunch of bullshit, a lot of shit, and eventually ballroom found me, and I think that made me focused, because I suddenly couldn't meet up like super high or super drunk or whatever it was that I was going through. I couldn't suddenly do that because I had people that I looked forward to see, and they expected me to come as I was, you know, and that eventually made me, had some things that I was interested in, and kind of from there I just was stuck in ballroom. Like, I've been there ever since, went to every ball, been traveling to across Scandinavia, been winning everywhere in Scandinavia. Went to Paris as well, and Paris is again like one of the bigger scenes. So going to Paris as a baby back then was very scary, because it's all of these people that we see on YouTube that we've been looking up to for such a long time, and watching these clips, and just having a key at home, and then to suddenly stand next to them and having to go up against them, like it was sharks against babies. Like, it was crazy. But after that experience, I think it even it gave me so much more, like the whole thing about traveling and meeting other families, or just in general people who are traveling. Suddenly you get this whole network across the whole world, and I feel like I live in Copenhagen, but mentally I also kind of live in Stockholm, in Oslo, in Paris, you know, a bit of...
Mentally you live in.
Yeah, mentally. I know that's right. So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, so the first time I see voguing is on a TV show called America's Next Best Dance Crew, where it was Mario Lopez hosting, and then it was JC Sachet from NSYNC who was judging, along with Lil Mama, and then this street dancer who I can't remember his name, but he was there. And then the one season they had a crew called Vogue Evolution, and that was the icon, legendary Leomi who was leading that, along with a bunch of. I mean, I think I've known. There are some of them are like well known, but like I can't remember their names. But yeah, and that's the first time I see it really, and it was like, whoa, what is this? And then later on, I start like go on YouTube, and I see like a lot of the clips that we've seen, like Incy and Lysandra, and start seeing it around. I was like, okay, what's this happening? And then I meet Ion and Laura, who were part of the dance crew that you mentioned. Who I met them at a gay extortion party in Vesterbo. And then I started going to the clubs, and I met you, and I met Maggi, and I met everyone else, and I also meet another one from the scene, Bambi Milan, because we kind of started at the same time. And then we started coming to the sessions around the same time as Yoni were at Dance Capillo, and started with Old Way. And then eventually I moved on to Vogue Femme because I realized I can actually do it, because I felt like, okay, I'm a bigger sized person. So I thought, all right, I can't do this Vogue Femme thing. But I saw bigger people doing it, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can do this. Yeah, sure, why not? And so I started doing that. It was also because it was more my thing, and so that's kind of the trajectory I've been on, and since then just been in ever since, and come to sessions and going walking balls here, and I've walked in Sweden and Norway, and it's just been and also just again, like I said, it's this like coming to Ballroom, like it became home, it became family, it became life, it became everything for me. It's what I've been missing. I always felt like an outsider, and then really like I had friends before, but it was like this was different. This was way different than anything I had before or since. And so it now it permeates every part of my life, and it's something I'm very passionate about, and so
That's beautiful.
What about you?
My story. I mean, a little bit of all of this in one. So I think the first thing I saw was America's Best Dance Crew as well. I also remember Ninja. What was his name? He was on Top Model. Benny Ninja, teaching the girls how to Vogue or something. I don't know. So I remember seeing that. And then I did the same dance education the year prior to Yoni. Also going to Paris, also having classes from Lysandra Ninja. And then, that was just really what I wanted to do. But there was no one here in the beginning. But then Beck, as mentioned, started hosting these like classes for a few people. And then we started the crew, Disturbing Business. Started doing sessions, and then I think I really started taking it seriously when I went to New York for the first time, which has been 2017. And that's when, I would just go and take classes from Icon, Leomi, from, I don't remember. I took every class that I could, went to the club, just training, and then I started going to Monster La Beja's class. And that's how I eventually became House of La Beja in 2017, I believe. Yeah. And then I kept going back and forth between Denmark and New York. I became part of a first Kiki house. I think it was Montaigne, turned into Louboutin. Last time I went to one of the last times I went to New York, I became Marciano, and that's how we started growing our chapter in Scandinavia. Then we all left House of Marciano and then became House of Bodega together, which was very cute. It's very normal, especially in the Kiki scene, to kind of change. There's a lot of, also I think because people are quite young, they want to change, they want to move on, they want to, so that was my experience as well, especially in the Kiki scene. Also left House of La Beja, I guess 2020, something before that, and then I haven't been in a major house since then. Also traveled a lot, also been winning different places.
Carry.
I have a grand prize in performance from New York, which I'm very proud of. When I was
Let's go.
Marciano, yeah, very proud of that. Yeah. So that was my thing. I wanted to ask you to maybe talk about your categories that you walk. Explain a little bit what it is and also like why you're drawn to that category. Maybe starting here.
Yeah, so I mean, I've mainly walked femme, but I've also walked hands performance and lip sync. And I mean, hands performance is where it's all about the hands, and you know, you're doing you're telling a story with your hands, and you're doing like your shapes and moving around, and it's centered on that you stand still or you sit down, and and it's really nice because like it's really like can be very beautiful and intricate, and it's a storytelling and story based performance, and then lip sync I've also walked, and it's basically just like lip sync. It's like where you're like you're doing like a drag queen. I also walked that because I really like it because I always like to lip sync and like doing it at home because I can't sing for shit. I can't hold a note, but it's just really nice, and you can like play around with it. You can create characters, you create fantasies. You can really like tell a story with your song and what you're doing. But Vogue Femme is like the main one, and it's and it's, as we mentioned before, it's like one of the freestyles of Vogue. Started in like the early 90s, like 93, 94 is where it like started to transition with the femme queens going from old way into Vogue Femme, and also because the music was there for it, because the ha dance, which is the original Vogue Femme beat, and then in the beginning it was a mixture of old way and Vogue Femme, and then eventually it started becoming its own style, and then it was still kind of slowish, and then it started becoming faster and more dramatic with Ashley Icon, the mother dramatics, and then later on it's kind of developed into like dramatics where you're all like all over the place and like big arms and like crazy stunts and all this kind of stuff, and then soft and cunt is where you're more soft and you're a little more like feminine. I mean dramatics can also be feminine, but like it's much more like classic feminine, like where kind of thing you do with that. So yeah, so that's kind of the categories that I do. Yeah.
Kind. So I've been in ballroom since, I feel like the first time was like the ball during Pride, but I wasn't in ballroom in like 6-7-ish months, so maybe the start of 2022. And I started walking realness. I mean, I did sex siren first, but realness was my go-to category, and realness, I walk butch queen realness, so we have categories who are divided into smaller subcategories, I would say, to divide it up and just make it more respectfully nice. So we have all the butch queens walking against each other. We're gonna have all the trans men walking against each other, the femme queens who are trans women of ballroom experience. And I walk realness to start with, and that was really an eye-opening experience because ballroom has a certain type of realness. We have like executive realness, we have schoolboy realness, we have everyday realness, etc. And I feel like realness is a category that back in when ballroom was happening or started, it was a way of taking care of people and teaching them how to be in society without getting beat up, because if you are visually visible queer out in the streets, you would probably be met with not so nice actions. So that kind of like taught people how to pass. Yes, and then I started also walking American runway. So I also have runway performances. We have European runway, which is more hips, hips, hips. And American runway is more so like military, fashion week kind of style. And I walked that for some time. I was in the house of Louboutin as well, like you, and also the Labesias, just like you. So what's going on? Yeah, very intertwined.
Yeah.
But after that, I got into Vogue Femme. I think Vogue to Anything was my, like Vogue to Anything is a newer category, but it comes from, Vogue Femme. But it would just be to other kinds of music that was not Vogue, Vogue music. And for me, that was really fun because I've been dancing before, but it was more so taking classes and this and that, so I could use that skill from those experiences to walk Vogue to anything. And when that went well, I was like, okay, let me actually try the actual performance category. And I started walking, and you will start with walking Baby Vogue, which is like around a year-ish time. And depending on how fast you win or how experienced you get, you eventually graduate to the bigger, the more experienced girls league. So it's more fair, because if you have to walk against Naomi as a baby, then good luck to you.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's so many other categories. Again, ballroom is always changing. So there was best nails, for example. I have been walking that, and that's about having the best nails. Sometimes it's about having the best manicure, and other times it's about having the best design. And yeah, just a bunch of different categories. It's fun to try out.
Nice.
Cute. I started out walking women's performance, like Vogue Femme for the cisgender women. And then I walked face a couple of times. But mainly I do arms control, which is like very much about lines and shapes, and it's very, I feel like it's such a nerdy, yeah, because it's very, yeah, and I like that. Yeah, it comes from the arm movements you would see in old way with like lines and boxes and circles, and then it can sometimes be added like some of the illusions and flexibility you have from new way. Yeah, and I mean it is. I mean, in a kiki, no, both like sometimes it's paired with hands performance, because it's not one of the original category, and I think some people would even say it's not a category on its own, because maybe like it draws on the original performance categories. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of adds to the fact how much ballroom is evolving at all times. You have new categories coming in. For instance, in the kiki scene, in the major scene, you have best dressed, which is about really dressing up, like it's and classically how looking good, right? So kind of going to a ball, but in this case it's a
gala.
Yeah, going to a gala, red carpet gala, and then in the kiki scene a few years ago they added fashion killer.
Machos.
Iconic machos in the kiki scene. Yeah, right. Added fashion killer, which was more about street style and like being interesting and stuff. And then sometimes people can confuse those two categories, because one is really supposed to be glamour, one is supposed to be fashion. And yeah, it's interesting how kind of the categories can evolve, or they can kind of take inspiration or mix, or yeah. So there's always something new going on.
Yeah, and also that made me think like one of the things that been happening as the ballroom culture kind of like migrated from the US to Europe. You can see like, and I haven't walked in the States, so I'm also looking at you, because some categories or some aspects of ballroom are perceived maybe differently, or are being like interpreted more differently in Europe. So like, I feel like maybe especially in the kiki scene, the representation of non-binary categories is something that is seen more and more, which I think is super important.
Definitely. So the scene is essentially built on the realness aspect, right? So if we think back to the 60s and 70s in the US, you pretty much have to be passable as a straight person on the street, cis straight person. So in the ballroom scene, there's a lot of status in looking as passable as possible. And this sort of still lingers in the ballroom scene very much. But I think in Europe, and I'm not saying that Europe is more progressive in terms of like gender and stuff, but it's maybe we don't have the same history, at least, let's say it like that. So there's a bit more interest in bringing in the gender non-conforming, non-binary identities into ballroom, which is interesting because I definitely talk to people in New York that say it doesn't belong. There's a few years ago, there was a big kind of online thing about people going back and forth about this doesn't belong, but it's also, well, we want to include more queer identities into ballroom. So it's an interesting discussion. It is more and more, I would say, also in the US that they bring in these kind of newer identity markers. I don't know how to say it, but it's still, I don't know. There's still kind of it's a touchy subject in a way, because you also don't want to take away from the history of the scene, right? And it's also still very much relevant in a lot of places, but essentially, especially also in the U.S., to be passable as a trans person in the street now. Very important, but we also still want to make space for more queer identities. So yeah, that's kind of a
Yeah, I mean, like as a non-binary person, I've like definitely seen that like it started to become included more, like in hearing about how over here it's become more normalized, kind of is like via Berlinish, and then kind of spreading around a bit, and in the U.S. it's still very like hotly debated about like if this like is a thing that should be, and I get those who are like, it's like doesn't have space here, it's more binary, and like I get it because like it's part of the history, and like changes changes are slow, they happen but they're slow, and like but I do think still it's nice to see like an effort into including it more, because we are seeing more like, especially with like I feel like stuck more to like performance. I mean, in the U.S. I'm seeing more GNC. They don't call it non-binary, but they call it GNC. I'm seeing a lot more of that over there. I've also seen non-binary face. I've also seen been walked. There was an attempt at realness, which I mean the idea was kind, but it's just something that I don't really think can be done, because you first of all, because every category at a ball has like, it calls for something, so you still kind of have to box it in, and then also the judges will probably have a view already of what is masculine and feminine, and like a very binary viewpoint, and also of what non-binary people should like. So that can color the judging as well in terms of the tens and like who wins the battles. So I mean, I don't think it's a problem. It's not non-binary realness. That like it's not really. It's a very gray area, very uncharted. But it's also like it doesn't really make super much sense, because non-binary is all about being outside the box, and so now we're gonna put you in a box. It's like, okay, so. But in other areas, I'm glad to see it making more stride, I will say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because it is supposed to be, at least in my opinion, a safe space for queer people, right? And you want to include all queer people. I guess that's my opinion about it.
I also feel like, again, ballroom is changing, and because of social media and etc., it's gotten to the eyes of many different kinds of people, especially within queer realms. And that's why we're starting to have, like, for example, Best Hair Affair, I think, or Hair Affair it's called, where exactly, where they're like inviting in different kinds of people within, also for example with the nails, inviting in nail artists or barbers for doing, hair, etc., etc. So in that sense, I feel like ballroom will always be changing. But I also have like heard from some big people that they would rather respect how the old ways were in terms of GNC. GNC means gender non-conforming, if you all didn't know. But then again, ballroom, as I said, is always changing. We're opening up new categories. We're inviting in newer people, and the visibility is there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're good on that. Do you have something to add? Please.
No, I was just thinking more of like this balance between protecting and preserving a culture out of respect and admiration and longing, while also making it available and relevant in new territories. Like, because here in Denmark, I feel like, especially for us girls who've been here maybe a couple of years, we've had this talk several times, like how like we do not have the history that the originators of ballroom have. We have struggles and we have issues and we have all these different life conditions that make us needing ballroom, but it's not like a one-to-one comparison. And how do we deal with that? How do we protect the culture? How do we, and speaking as a cis gender person, how do I help protect and hold a space, facilitate a space? How do I mind the space that I'm taking, especially as a house mother too? How do I protect my kids and make sure that they can fare well in ballroom? How do we hold sessions, like all of these questions, and the meeting between an existing group of people just being here and then this culture, like that is also what like fuels this evolution of the culture, I think. And we have to have these conversations several times, because as you say, change takes time, and we are trying things out because maybe it makes sense in our scene, and from maybe an American point of view it might not make sense, but the context is also different. And I think that's also really healthy, because I feel like yes, we have drama and ballroom internationally too, but I feel like there are also a lot of great attempts at having these talks, trying to meet each other and having debates on why is it done, why does it make sense, why is it perceived with criticism from some. And I think those are just really healthy conversations that we should keep on having.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great point. So I was thinking we could talk about, if people are interested in ballroom, what do they need to do? What can they do? Like, let's say they live in Copenhagen or in Denmark in general. Do they have to have some kind of skill set before, or like how? If they're just interested, what do they do?
They should, among other things, show up at the Elements 101 sessions we have every other Thursday at Danse Kapelle. We just started out a program. It's going to run from now until March 2026, and it's going to be a warm welcome for new people in ballroom. We really want to introduce it and make it more available for the people that we know are there who need it.
And I feel like you don't have to take an exam to get in, but it's basically, it's for everybody who needs it. I would say you should come to sessions, and from then on, like you will get to know people, and eventually we will also tell you that you should watch some documentaries, you should research, you should figure out who is who, and we also have some YouTube channels where we see a lot of the clips. That's where they're like preserved. Yes, and there's also we have ballroom scene here in Copenhagen, and there's also something cooking slowly but surely in Aarhus as well. So look forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say go online first. I would say if you can't make it immediately, it's like a session or something. Go online first. Go to YouTube. Go to all the YouTube channels, Ballroom Throwbacks, Kendrick Mugler, Paris Ballroom TV, the OG Network, Tie with the Live, DBS as well, Ballroom Tapes, and then also there's a lot of documentaries and TV shows like Paris is Burning, Kiki. There's Pose, Legendary, the House of Revlon in Paris is just also now having their own TV show on French TV. So there is a lot of avenues you can do if you if you're not if you're social anxiety or socially awkward, you can start there first if you want to keep it as distance in terms of being with people. So you can do it a bit of research from home and see if this is what intrigues me, and then you can eventually step out into it being social and meeting with people at a session. So
Yeah, in terms of that, I would definitely recommend going to sessions. Because it's a very open space. It's everybody's welcome, and there's a lot of different people there that can help you and guide you. Because going to a ball is can be a little bit overwhelming or nerve-wracking. There's a lot happening at a ball, and everything's very fast. I don't know. So I think the sessions. Also, we have free sessions in Denmark, so it's very easy to just go.
Every
Copenhagen.
Sunday at CPH.
That's right.
And also, I just wanted to add, because I feel like if someone had only told me that in the beginning, I wouldn't have been so intimidated. In ballroom, it's so normalized, I feel to reach out. If you have a question, if there's something you want to know, if you were at a ball and you want to, I don't know, if you want to go to a ball and you don't know, how do I buy the ticket? I feel it's really normal to reach out to the organizers, even though there might be big people in Paris, big people in the US. And most of the time, I would say 99%, people will answer. They will get back to you because they know everyone has been a beginner in ballroom. Everyone has been having that feeling of watching back the very first clips, and you're ooh, bless this baby, So I feel like, and that's a very, ask people, just reach out.
Yeah.
We're very nice. We're very nice.
Right.
And also to that, I feel like when there is a ball, there is not just the people who are walking. There is like a whole community. There's people behind the scenes. There's people who walks. There's people who are supporting from behind, maybe making costumes or outfits, etc. And also the venue. We always the different venues that are being chosen. They also have their own guests. So we also invite our own friends and friends of our friends. So it can be very scary to come to a ball at first because so many things are happening, but just know that you're not alone, and there's a lot of people there who might also are there for the first time. Just consider that when you're there, you're a guest in the community, and that's like my only that one advice. You're a guest in the community, and besides that, have fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice. I think we're about to round up, right? Do we? Yes? Okay. So, not really. I mean, I guess. Is anybody here that wants to ask a question? Okay. Yeah, okay.
You talked a lot about like it sounded like there is a lot of cooperation and like competition, like in the scene and this like.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a bit on that, like for someone that doesn't know anything about it at all?
I guess we didn't talk about how it goes at a ball. Yeah.
Right. So the point is, you want to get the grand prize. You walk a category, you want to win the grand prize. You want to get your tent so that you can battle. You want the judges panel to love you and to throw their vote on you.
Yeah.
And
the reason we do session is so we can become the best at the category that we do, so we can win against everybody else that's also walking the same category. In ballroom, we battle at the same time. So you have two people on the floor at the same time. You have a judges panel at the end that will choose who wins. Is that what you wanted to? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like you battle 2 and 2. Sometimes it can be 3 on 3 if it's like so many people walking. Usually the panel's like an uneven number of judges, so that like there's no like tiebreakers. But like it's like so it's always like 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11 or And it's just about winning. Yeah, you also win cash prizes. Sometimes there's cash on the table as well, or like goodie bags, or like something else. Yeah, we have sponsored goodie bags. So yeah, that's what you win for.
But I actually feel like it's so cute. We didn't even talk about the competition aspect. We just talked about kind of like the community or whatever. And the thing is, the family system, the house system that we have, you'd never compete against your own family. You always compete with other people as well. So that's why we have it.
And you can be in 2 houses, like in the major scene and one in the Kiki scene. So potentially you could battle your family, but in another scene. And that's the nice part about it, having, multiple families. But I also feel like, the ball is the competition aspect of it. Then we also have the community aspect of it, which is the sessions, the hangouts, the taking care of each other, making sure that, we're all safe, have food to eat, etc., etc. And then, the ball is the competition. That's where all the arts, because we don't really get access to the red carpet, let's say that. So we make our own red carpet. We make our own place, our own stage to really give 150%. And I also feel like ballroom has given so much inspiration to the everyday world, everyday life in general, whether it comes to makeup or the way that you look or the way that you behave, etc.
But we just talked about this, if people want to like come and experience ballroom, and I think it's talked about a little. I mean, I've heard these theme, but I think we also have to say it, that it is a competition.
Yeah.
It is a safer space. It's a queer space. It's a protest space, and we are protecting it. But it's also a competition, and there is this thing for another talk, another day, about ballroom also not being for everyone.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I think, what I meant when I said that it can be overwhelming and nerve-wracking, because the ball is a competition, so there's a lot of energy, but usually we leave it on the floor. So you battle each other, and maybe there's a bad energy there, but then after you leave, you're still friendly. So then that's what I meant by going to the ball as the first thing can maybe look a little like, oh, why does everybody hate each other? Sometimes they do, but normally it's just you leave it on the floor.
And there are the rules, like it's the way that we go by it. And we have, for example, the category face, and there will be a lot of beautiful people with beautiful faces, but sometimes you would be chopped at a category, and that means if one of the judges does not approve of your tens, then you can get chopped, and that doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. That just means within this specific category you're not meeting the requirements to get your 10. So you go back home, you practice again, and we've gotten a lot of chops, or not a lot, but chops is something that happens and it's normal. So it's just a way of coming back again and we'll get it next time. Mm?
That was a lovely point.
Yeah. Yes, did we answer the question? Great. I mean, sort of a very important point to what ballroom is, so it's good that you asked. With that being said, I think we should wrap up. Is that right? So I want to thank you all for coming here. I mean, I guess it's not like my thing, my show.
This is your show, no?
And also, I guess you guys should stick around. I'm pointing to the camera because later we're gonna have me and Nina. We're gonna play or DJ here, and we're gonna hopefully see some people voguing a little bit in the background.
We have a second camera here.
Oh, so we can see the floor. I mean, perfect. So
Come get your clip.
yes. So
Come
I
get
mean,
your
you
clips,
should watch,
Nina
of
says.
course, the whole live stream. But at 9 p.m. we're gonna turn it up. So yeah. Please, you have something?
No, I'll do a little 1-2-1-2. if you need to.
Okay,
Yeah, of course.
that's right.
So pull up.
So pull up.
Yes, and also, your name again?
I'm Nina Mercury.
Yes, and I'm Bax 007.
Yoni Mercury.
And I'm Rebekka Bodega, and thank you so much for watching, I guess.